What's up YouTube, Capital G here, talking about the Dragon Rulers in this video and the possibility that these terrors could be, dare I say, getting unbanned sometime soon in the OCG, and who knows what that could possibly mean for our TCG. If you guys remember back in 2015, the Dragon Rulers were banned in the OCG first, and then 3 months later we ended up pretty much following suit and banning them as well. So why exactly am I randomly talking about the Dragon Rulers? Cap G, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Well, you guys might not have seen this by now because it's not completely widespread, but there is a rumored OCG ban list that is floating around. I've seen it on Twitter and, on like Reddit and Facebook and stuff like that, and it supposedly is going to be the next upcoming OCG ban list, and it does in fact have the big Dragon Rulers back at limited status. Now it also has the baby rulers at limited status because the baby rulers are obviously at 3 and the TCG and the OCG. Now, let me just talk about the ban list for a quick second. I don't actually believe this. Like, if this did come to fruition, I think that this would be kind of shocking. Not even just because of the Dragon Rulers, but there are some other things on their list. Some of it is kind of believable. Like, Galaxy Tomahawk is banned on the list, but then it has like Trickstar Lycoris banned, and I see that and I'm just like, man, this is a fucking fake list. Trickstar Reincarnation is already at 1 in the OCG. They're not gonna ban Lycoris. Other things like Armageddon Knight at 1, yeah, I've been kind of calling for that. But let me go ahead and talk about the Dragon Rulers, right? And this is actually something that I don't want this to seem like, Cap G is flip-flopping, because I've said for probably about a year and a half now, I would 100% support the Dragon Rulers being unbanned, but I really think that the Dragon Rulers, like, if you look at them in the context of this format and really just the Reigns era, I'm not really sure that they are cards that are going to have a major impact in the meta. Let's just, go back a little bit, because the last time that we saw the Dragon Rulers, it was pretty much for one weekend with the, the Dark Matter Heretic deck. And it obviously was a very strong deck. It did get a lot of regional tops. We never really got to see it on a large scale because, the deck was dead after that weekend. You couldn't play it anymore because the Dragon Rulers were banned. But do you think a deck like that would translate into today's meta? I really look at the Dragon Rulers, and I don't think that they've been power creep. Let me just put that out there. Do not get me wrong by saying, Cap G thinks the Dragon Rulers suck. Now, it's not that. I just really don't think that they kind of fit the meta, and I really don't believe that they would have that big of an impact really when it comes to Master Rule 4 and the Link Summon, because if you have a couple of Dragon Rulers on board, there's no way you're going to trade 2 Dragon Rulers for, a Link 2 monster. That doesn't really make any sense. And honestly, when you look at, the Rank 7 pool, this was a pool that absolutely dominated the second half of the Zexal era. You guys remember cards like Mecha Phantom Beast Draco. That card was $160 because it was so strong. Big Eye, it was a $100 card. All these other powerful cards like, Abyss Gaios and stuff, like those cards were incredibly powerful during Zexal, but how often do you really see rank 7s even played anymore? In fact, I really feel like not True Draco, but the Dragon Rulers right now would kind of only have one exploitable play that I could see, maybe obviously kind of busting them or breaking them open, and that would be number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk. But my issue is I kind of feel like, and I've talked about this in other videos, that Tomahawk should be banned. I think Tomahawk is basically in line with cards like Scapegoat and, Grinder Golem. Basically these cards that were designed way before the Link mechanic, and any card that can give you like 4 or 5 tokens in a turn, probably, if it's a monster, needs to go, unless it's super slow like Scapegoats or something like that. Can't limit extra deck cards because usually your opponent only needs 1. So really, if you look at the Dragon Rulers, right, and you think that all the decks that they were played in before, and a lot of their best plays have kind of been power creeps or just really aren't that relevant, I don't really see exactly what they're going to break open when it comes to like today's game. And actually, I feel like they could give a small buff to some of those archetype decks, or excuse me, some of those attribute archetype decks from the Zexal era that are kind of lacking. A lot of those decks like Fire Fist and Murmillo, it's not that they're inherently like bad decks. They're still very strong. Murmillo, especially with Light of Sekka, Murmillo had so much natural synergy with a card like Tidal. In fact, I think that it's probably the best example of how a card or how a Dragon Ruler can really empower some of these older archetypes. You guys know Murmillo and Title went together like peanut butter and jelly because the Murmillo, the Murmillos wanted to discard the Atlanteans to send them to the grave so they could special summon themselves. A lot of times the Murmillo cards would just replace themselves by giving you a search or something like that. So you were always getting natural food for your Title in the graveyard relatively easily. When you have Nephthybis, that's just a foolish burial for water, so obviously it becomes even more consistent. But then Murmillo were also kind of predicated around the rank 7 Xyz, and Title just happened to be level 7 as well. So it helps you go into Abyss Giles, and it helps you do a lot of stuff that you already wanted to do, and obviously it could add damage on board, and it could help you grind, etc., etc. But really in today's meta, you'd be talking about empowering a lot of like tier 2 to lower tier decks, maybe being able to run Blaster in a deck like Laval's. But is Laval's going to be broken? Probably not. Will it even be meta? I really don't think so. And I actually started looking at some of the decks in the meta, and I was like, man, it's really hard to actually fit the Dragon Rulers into these decks because number one, you're not going to have all of that level 7 synergy. I just don't really see it because Konami is with these Vrains mechanics, right? Or excuse me, with these Vrains archetypes. Have you guys realized that a lot of them have their levels staggered when it comes to their monsters? Look at Goki, look at Altergeist, look at some of these new archetypes that are, designed around like the anime characters. A lot of them have only like 1 or 2 monsters of a specific level. So it means that it's not going to be a lot of Murmillos out there where you're going to have an archetype with a whole bunch of level 7s so that you can easily exploit the Galaxy Tomahawk play. Another problem that Dragon Rulers will kind of run into and trying to splash them into a lot of the meta decks of today is these archetypes are also just, they're rainbowed, man. The attributes are all over the place. Look at Spiral, right? Spiral Tough is randomly win, and Spiral's double helix, and all of these monsters have all of these weird attributes. Isn't Quick Fix, is Quick Fix Earth? I don't even know, but I'm just saying that Spiral, the attributes are all over the place. Same thing goes with Altergeist. Every single main deck Altergeist monster, I don't even know what Pixio is, but that card's irrelevant. All of them have different attributes. True Draco, you can't run it in that either because Ignis Heat is fire, and the Majesty's Maiden is wind. So it's going to be very difficult to splash the Dragon Rulers into a lot of these decks. I don't think the decks that they were played in before are nearly as powerful. In fact, the only kind of real synergy that I could see with a high level meta deck right now and the Dragon Rulers would probably be something like Goki, because I do believe that Goki could probably play a copy of Redox, especially if Redox was in your hand and then you were going to summon Isode that turn, because then Isode would just give you a free Goki monster that would basically give you the fodder you needed to activate the Redox's effect. You get that free monster reborn, which could be incredibly powerful, and I think that would be a really strong play. But the thing is, it's not like Redox would really be searchable. I mean, I don't really see how you would do anything involving Redox if it wasn't in your opening hand. You don't have any ways of inherently getting to the card unless I'm just completely mistaken. Another thing that could be kind of cool about the Dragon Rulers, and this is something that I'm not sure if Konami's ever going to explore, but who am I kidding? They're always trying to make money, and they do frequently go back to older archetypes. But one thing that I think would be kind of cool is if they gave us light and dark Dragon Rulers in the form of Link monsters. I think that they would probably be opening Pandora's box if they just straight up gave us effect monsters that were light and dark Dragon Rulers, because light and dark are just way too far ahead of the game when it comes to the other attributes, especially darkness. It's just, how many dark sets have we got? Shining Darkness, Phantom Darkness, etc., etc. But imagine if they gave us a light Dragon Ruler and a dark Dragon Ruler, and they both happen to be like Link 2s. They were really powerful, and maybe they required a Dragon Ruler monster plus a monster of a different attribute than that Dragon Ruler monster. That could be really incredible, and that could be just really interesting. Then you'd have these really great plays for some of these decks, or maybe you could have some people who could try and rebuild some of the old Dragon Ruler decks, not just the Hieratic Ruler deck, but maybe something like Mythic Rulers. And obviously these Link monsters are just, that's just stuff that I thought up off the top of my head, but I feel like Konami could kind of, make things a little more interesting by not just bringing the Dragon Rulers back, but then bringing in the light and dark Dragon Rulers that people have been wondering, or really I can say have been waiting for a long time, but not make them so OP where they're effect monsters. Make them extra deck monsters. I think that would be kind of cool. So you guys let me know what you think, and let me know how dumb and wrong I am in the comment section below. I know everybody's like, Kev G, Dragon Rulers still too OP, don't ever bring them back. Again, I really believe the Dragon Rulers in a vacuum are just as strong as when they were first released in Zexal, but we don't play Yu-Gi-Oh in a vacuum. We play Yu-Gi-Oh in a fluidly moving format, and I'm looking at the, a lot of the tier 1 decks right now, and I just don't see how they're actually going to be able to summon them outside of Goki, which is, full earth attributes. And I really think that a lot of their plays that they were exploiting, like Draco Sack, not really that powerful anymore. Big Eye, people don't really use it. You get Galaxy Tomahawk out of the game, and there really are no exploitable plays with Dragon Rulers. They're just, finding homes in these archetype decks where they're obviously going to empower them. They're going to make Murmillo and Laval's a little better, and then you could obviously give us a couple of Link monsters that are light and dark, and that would obviously make people lose their shit with excitement as well. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos. And actually, my bad, I never even talked about the real legitimate possibility of the Dragon Rulers getting unbanned in the TCG or the OCG. I think that it's definitely going to happen in the OCG. I feel like maybe not by the end of this year, but definitely by the end of next year, before the end of the Reigns era. If you're looking at Konami, just how many like old school archetypes they're giving Link monsters to, I think a Dragon Ruler Link would be amazing, and it would definitely be one that people are super excited about. I mean, we just saw kind of like a tour guide Link, pseudo, well, I guess you'd call it an underworld Link monster, and you see how they're so willing to kind of like, they'd be so liberal about their ban list with cards like Mighty and Stratos, cards that are just at 3. So I really feel like in the OCG, they'd experiment with bringing them back at 1 and then kind of just move from there, but I could totally see it happening.